Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFT Statistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. So much to talk about today. Going to dive into everything that's happened with elementals, talk a little bit about this E.THER mint coming up. We actually had a Christie's auction that closed yesterday with a lot of interesting sales. Let's dive right in, starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes, of course, up a ton. All the top 4 projects were Azuki projects, Azuki elementals, Azuki elemental beans, and beans. So that really drove all this volume. In terms of unique NFTs traded, there actually weren't that many more than normal. So a ton of volume, but they were NFTs trading for a lot of ETH and a bunch of NFTs trading over and over. You can see here, nothing to see really in that NFTs traded chart. Large cap index down substantially. And of course, as we know, driven by Azuki. I mean, a 36% down move in the Azuki set. That's almost unheard of when it comes to NFTs, especially because normally bidders come in and bid up stuff that's falling quickly, and you just didn't have that here. And I think on the other side, you know, what were the beneficiaries? I hate to say beneficiaries, because when liquidity comes out, when things go down, a lot of people lose, you know, but DeGods really rallied, and then Pudgy Penguins also had a little bit of strong momentum. DeGods are now worth more than Azuki. Of course, Azuki, if you include the beans and the things that have been dropped, are worth more as a set. But the DeGod NFT is now worth more than Azuki, I believe, for the first time ever. Mid-cap index also down a fair bit. A little bit of strength in Valhalla and weakness in Goblin Towns. When looking at trade returns for traders, people who are flipping NFTs that they bought 3 or a few days earlier, you can see it was a massive down day, down about 600 ETH. And again, that's because the highest volume set was down 30%. In terms of art projects, Chromie Squiggles were the only project that did more than 10 ETH of volume. One of those squiggles here sold for 10.7 ETH. Also have a Meridian. It's almost hard to tell it's a Meridian here, but this one sold for 9.5 ETH, well above the floor. A construction token by Jeff Davis for 3.5 ETH, and then a Harvest for 2.4 ETH. The Harvest really is starting to see some of those sales come a bit lower. Between 2 and 3 is where we've seen the most recent sales. Let's get right into the main topic, though. Azuki Elementals reveal. Just a totally crazy day. Started off with the mint, then went on to the reveal. Here's the quick tweet from Azuki saying it is time for the elementals to be revealed. And I think the big thing that happened that we all know about is that there was just a lot of concern that the elementals, especially the human elementals, looked way too much like the actual Azukis. Here's a tweet from Deez saying he can't tell the difference between the floor elementals and the floor Azukis. And there's just this feeling that a lot of the kind of look and feel got repeated in this new collection. It wasn't the case for all of them. And I think people did get praise. There's some of these younger people, kind of kid Azuki elementals that had a bit of a different look and feel. You can see in the upper left, and a bunch of animals. You know, animals have been a big part of the Azuki collection, from frogs to sloths to other animals. And I think that those were praised as really innovative and new. Then you have traits like this bucket head. So there were some interesting things, but I think that core, when you look at the floor, it just feels very, very similar. And the result was really quite negative. You can see here the Azuki floor, kind of how much it has gone down over just the past few days. And then the elementals, you know, they minted out for 2 ETH. We saw stories of people selling tons of NFTs so they could get their full elementals allocation. They started at 2 and kind of quickly went down to about 1.75, 1.8 for the beans, and have kind of been in that range ever since. Now, as far as the mint goes, the mint actually itself got a lot of criticism. And the main reason is that a lot of Azukis weren't able to actually get their elementals. In the end, it was something like 7,600 Azukis that actually minted them. The other ones were left for beans, but some people couldn't get them. The site got overloaded. The team came in later, said they did quality check ahead of time, but in the end, it couldn't handle all the traffic. But also, this mint was really dominated by the biggest whales. You know, the top 10 minters spent almost $8 million just between them, got more than 20% of the elementals. The top minter, Lugis, spent $1.5 million. In the end, this turned out not to be a good thing, because now you can get them cheaper than you could then. But still, I think that was one area that there was, a little bit of concern, just conversation, basically. I mean, whales and the big spenders have been such a huge part of Azuki, and they were certainly the ones that were given the allocation here. Now, in terms of some of the charts I like to look at, what basically happened with the trading, the first is that a ton of new Azukis that had never been traded on Blur, that hadn't been traded for a long time, were sold into bids. This chart here looks at the past 7 days. You can see, we're up over 400 that have been sold into bids that had never been sold into bids before. That is well above, 3 to 4x where we've ever been for this metric. So just a ton of new NFTs coming loose. And who were the buyers? And again, the biggest buyers, when you look at who are the biggest buyers sweeping up the supply yesterday, it was largely airdrop farmers. The top wallet here is Blend. You can see 151 were bought on the leverage wallet. Those tend to be pretty quick money, tend to be people who are willing to flip because they are buying on leverage. The number 2 wallet was a farmer as well. And then FAF, FAF, the one and only, the guy who really stepped up and kind of saved the negative momentum in Bored Ape Yacht Club, did buy 76 yesterday. So the FAF wallet, Pimp Capital, was a big player. But when I look at all the other top buyers who bought 13 or more, the vast majority really do appear to be people who have traded in and out, who have done a bunch of airdrop farming on Blur, a couple new wallets. So it's not always easy to tell, but I do think that we are getting to a situation where there's just a lot of supply that's going to want to sell rallies here. We talked yesterday about how leverage came down a lot. Well, if you actually look at this chart, you see it went right back up. A lot of people who had unwound loans that they had on Blend decided just to get the leverage again. Makes a lot of sense. They want to get those Azukis in their wallet so they could claim the elementals. And now that they can get that free money on Blend, they want to. In terms of where were the biggest sales, all the biggest sales other than one, the vast majority were this triple question mark trait. It's a type. Kind of seems to be the spirits of the Elementals project. And these, the top 12 sales, 11 of them you can see here were that triple question mark. Most of those were going for above 24 ETH. So we're certainly seeing some big sales here. The number 1 sale was Tamachi Big Brother, was this frog, I believe, for 36 ETH. A very simple frog, a high rare, one of the top rarity NFTs in the collection. In response to all the negativity, all the concerns, all the people saying, why did we make this collection so identical, or not identical, but so similar to the previous one? Here you can see Grail.eth. And he said this 4 hours before the actual announcement. We've seen this a couple times, where I've seen Discords where people knew what the announcements were going to be hours ahead of time, days ahead of time. Here we had it. He said 4 hours ahead of time. He said, take the green bean. All things evolve, all things change. Take the green bean. Clearly knew something. If you look at the official announcement, Azuki came out and said this wasn't what we wanted. This was challenging. We recognize that we missed the mark. It's dilutive to Azuki, and we want to make it right. And they said one more thing. Here is a green bean. So we don't know what that green bean is. It is an ERC 1155, and we're going to see what it is ultimately. But there is something more trying to make this right. Now, one of the things that it reminds me of, some people are saying we love the art, and I think liking the art for the second project isn't always the issue. It's differentiation. It's understanding the tiers of the ecosystem. It's understanding who falls in where. I was into World of Women for a while, and I remember this very, very well. They had the World of Women project, and then they dropped World of Women Galaxy. And the World of Women Galaxy got criticized for being better than World of Women. People like the art more, that one on the lower right, versus the one on the upper right, and it was 20,000. So it was a lot of supply. It took a lot of ETH out of the ecosystem. And I think those critiques kind of remind me of the critiques we're getting right now. I drew an arrow there kind of pointing to when that drop was, and the collection got up to 13, 14 ETH, and really struggled after that. So that is one comparison that did come to mind. My overall take is that this drop was going to be very difficult, even if they got it right. You are adding 20,000 NFTs to the collection. You're demoting beans who have been sort of, some of your loyal holders in the community are beans. You're just adding a new collection that you have to take care of. And then also, just as importantly, you're passing a catalyst, right? Everyone had been holding the NFTs, waiting for Vegas, waiting for this drop, and that passed. So to me, this was always going to be a very difficult thing, even if they got it right. The second thing is that a lot of NFTs got dumped in the Blur pool. My view is once they get in the hands of airdrop farmers, it's very hard to get them out. And when airdrop farmers are your primary traders, it leads to the price kind of slowly bleeding lower. And I think that was just another issue we're going to have here. I think differentiation is key when it comes to airdrops, make people know what makes the second one different. The other issue here they have is that the biggest spenders, the whales are the ones who kind of lost money on the elementals. And it's just so much harder now. When there was a lot of FUD in the past, those guys could sweep Azukis. It was easy. You knew what to do. Here, I think there's just a lot more supply out there that they would have to. I will say this, Azuki has been the absolute best in the business at connecting with their holders, at understanding their community, at rebounding from FUD, at rebounding from negativity. So you should never count this team out. I think that they're as good as it gets. I do think that people feel real connection with this brand. So there are some good things going, but we also know that brands are very fragile, especially right now. I think anything that doesn't have something coming up tends to drift lower. So we'll see what happens overall. Unfortunately to see people lose money, and unfortunately see this team that I'm sure worked hard on this not get the response they wanted. Third thing to talk about E.THER is launching it's called E.THER. It's Escape the Reality. Just a quick thing about it. It's coming out on Friday, Saturday. Here's a tweet from them. They launched a new video coming soon. There are going to be 5 one-of-one characters that will be the cornerstones of the universe. That's when they're going to tell us a little bit more about the lore. Here are the 2 founders, some images kind of them, I guess, or some PFPs that they use. This is what the art looks like for E.THER based on what I saw from looking at the founders' feed. So just kind of grab these, but gives you a feel, kind of more of that anime type look and feel. The allow list is 1750, and this was an interesting mechanism. On the allow list, you can get the NFT for 0.35 ETH, or you can get it for free. But if you get it for free, you have a 10-week lockup. After that is an 8,000 NFT drop for 0.65 ETH overall, raising about $10 million. So certainly raising a lot of money. The public starts on Saturday, July 1st. These prices are actually down from where they were. They started at 1 ETH, and then I think because of this environment, they decided to change it. On their website, they have a roadmap, and the roadmap looks a lot like other roadmaps you've seen, high-end fashion. They want to make hoodies, jewelry, sneakers. That seems like something that's coming soon. They want to mesh physical with digital, and then other things, incentivize IP expansion, build a narrative into a book with the public, other things like that, community building. So will be interesting to see how this plays out, but it is coming up in a couple days. So I've been hearing about it, wanted to do a little bit of research. It looks like you can mint up to 3. We will see how that one goes. And then lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales. And most of the notable sales I'm going to talk about are from a Christie's auction that just finished on the 27th. And some really big sales. And one of the things about this auction is that the money raised from it, the money earned here, is going to psychedelic science, basically trying to develop medicinal psychedelics and research. So it is kind of a not-for-profit auction that happened. The biggest sale was Deekay at a sale for 48.1 ETH. I love Deekay's work. He's such an awesome creative. So cool to see this. If you look at some of Deekay's prior sales, they've been well above 100. He even won for 310 ETH. Some of the top collectors in the game. Cosimo is the one who has the 310, 6529, Spartan Black, Calvin Cole, my old colleague. But still, you know, in this market, almost hitting 50 ETH, nothing to scoff at. This one was super interesting. Sam Spratt had an IOU of a 1 of 256 edition, which sold for 19.52 ETH for a 1 of 256 for Sam Spratt. That's crazy. But basically what's happening here is Sam Spratt is going to be launching an edition. He's been working for a year on something. We don't know what it is, but there's going to be a 1 of 256 edition. And he said to Christie's, you can have one of them that you can auction. It's just an IOU. And that went for almost 20 ETH. Here, Sam Spratt is thanking the buyer. It is the owner of this pretty damn clean, trippy for Bored Ape. So love to see that. Congrats to Sam as well as the buyer there. And then just a couple sales. I wish I had time to go through all of them, but Sophia Crespo had a pretty cool sale here on the left. You have Killer Acid here in the middle with a sale, and then Justin Aversano as well for a sale around 5 ETH. So a bunch of cool pieces that sold there. I believe kind of in that 8 to 10 ETH range for the other 2. Love this one on the left. Laura Al, we talk about her a lot on the show because she's pretty prolific. Had a sale for almost 9 ETH. Casey Reese, the generative artist, here for 7 ETH. And then another big one, the Mad Dog Jones, for almost 20 ETH. So really cool pieces. Go check them out on Christie's. And then lastly, let's just touch on Grant Yoon. This piece we talked about yesterday, Fall. He sold them for $55.80. He sold 35 of them. And in the aftermarket, they've had sales almost for $10,000. So huge win for the collectors there. Huge win for Grant. Congrats on that. Those do come with a physical print. And then Grant also sold a 1 of 1, this piece called Park, for 50 ETH. So another 1 of 1 from Grant. You know, he's obviously one of the top guys in the game. Always cool to see when he has those sales. That is all from me today. I unfortunately will not be here tomorrow. I have to catch a flight going back to Wisconsin. Got to go back and see my kids. It's long. When you're going east, you always got to do it early because that's when you kind of lose time throughout the day to time zone changes. But I will be back on Friday with another show. Hope you enjoyed the show. Give us a like. Tell us what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.